All
It's
right.
pretty.
There's the big news from Buccaneers training camp so far. We are live, training camp live with Slick and the Dude. This is the Know Your Enemy edition. Why you say? We're going to bring on someone who covers the Saints, get a little peek what's going on in New Orleans, and Jameis Winston and the dreaded Saints. And then a little bit after that, we will have BJ Nix. He has covers the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm pretty sure that's a big game coming up here to start the season. So without further ado, from the Are You Serious Sports Network, we'd like to welcome Blake Ruffino. Blake, thank you so much for coming on the show, boss. How are you doing today, sir?
What's going on, guys? How we doing?
We're doing pretty good. Much
Awesome.
appreciated for coming on, man.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Blake, before we get off and running here real quick, let's bookend this with finding out a little bit about you, what you cover, your network, and, what's going on with you right now. Finding out a little bit about.
Yeah, so I cover the Saints and LSU, and really the SEC. I try to stay and cover or talk about all things football. But mainly LSU Saints is what our show is generated around.
Beautiful, beautiful. Of course, we're here to talk to you about the Saints. No disrespect to LSU. In fact, the Buccaneers have an LSU player on their team that's pretty good from what I understand.
Yeah, Devin White. Devin White's amazing.
Well, we can sit in here and beat around the bush, or we can talk about the elephant in the room, and that's because as Bucs fans, we want to know what's going on with Jameis Winston and that New Orleans offense.
Yeah, I think he's done pretty well so far. I think, the biggest thing for Jameis has been just his maturity level, I think, has increased, and you guys may know this, but when you get married and you have a wife, you don't really have a lot of choice but to mature. A kid will definitely make you mature, right? So I've liked what I've seen from Jameis. I've liked the leadership I've seen of him. As of late, and really just kind of knowing offense a lot better than I think he did a season ago, telling receivers that they, hey, look, you're supposed to do this on this route if he plays this coverage. So I think he's done pretty well. I mean, look, a lot of people trashed Jameis a season ago, but all he did was throw for 14 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, and people could say he was hamstrung. Well, last time I checked, he had multiple games with over 4 touchdown passes. So in the NFL, and 7 games, when you're able to do something like that, I think, guys, that's a pretty big deal. Now, Jameis still has a lot he's got to prove, but I don't think he has the excuse like he did a season ago, and it was a legit excuse. He didn't have a lot of weapons. It was basically throw the ball to Alvin Kamara and see what he can do. But now he's got weapons with Jarvis Landry and Mike Thomas, who's back looking really good. So I think Jameis has done well so far, in my opinion.
All right, Blake, I want to introduce you over here to Slick. Slick's from the United Kingdom. And
awesome,
what's really interesting about him, besides he's a Bucs fan, really, they do have Bucs fans outside of Tampa, Blake, is he actually is a defensive coordinator of a American football team in an American Football League over there, Slick.
Awesome.
So give us a little love on that, and then Slick, I know you got some questions about the Saints, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're towards the end of our season right now. So my team has its last game tomorrow. My team itself is struggling with numbers of players, so I may have to suit up. I may have to don the pads and go out there. Yeah. Well, the head coach said he wanted to call plays, and I was like, you know what? If that's what you want to do, I'll go kill someone instead.
Oh, hey.
It's against our bitter rivals, Hereford, so that's kind of fun. There's a lot of connotations to this game, which I can't get into yet, but I will do because there's a lot going on behind the scenes for the Knights. Either way, anyway, just to reiterate about Jameis Winston, obviously, Bucs fans are very familiar with him. We know what he's about, and it's always been like Jameis Winston's been one of those. He's a polarizing character because he can get the job done, but he can also get the job none. And that's always been his calling card. And it always seemed like the Saints, when they finally got hold of him, kind of turned him more into a game manager, which isn't a bad thing. Not when you have the arm strength and the arm ability of someone like Jameis Winston. So what I wanted to ask you, now that he has a bit more weapons, now he has a bit more about him, now he's another day as being the man, so to speak. How is he looking?
I'm going to disagree with you, though, a little. I don't think game managers throw 8 touchdowns in back-to-back weeks, right? Like, I don't I think it just people look at Jameis and then look at the passing attempts, right? Like, they don't look at what the Saints was trying to do. The Saints leaned on their defense a lot heavily in the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Saints had an issue running the football. You know, what people don't realize is they think that the Saints are a very run-oriented team, which they are, but the problem is that Alvin Kamara's never rushed for 1,000 yards. Okay, the Saints like to slow things down, right? Like, they like to get to the line, play clock winding down, snap it in a second, which then obviously, you know, clicks down the passing attempts. I mean, look, I thought that, you know, people thought that Jameis was hamstrung last year, maybe to some extent, but again, in crucial situations, they gave Jameis and put the ball in his hands. I remember the Seattle game a season ago. I think 5 straight passes that they had that they called to try to win the game, and Jameis ran it in for a score. So I don't think necessarily that. I do think you'll see a little bit more explosion from the offense, but I don't think that comes. I don't think that last year's issues was a Jameis thing. I think last year's issues were nobody could get open, right? Like, so if he doesn't have anybody to throw the ball to, I think that that's more on the fact of they just didn't have the weapons and the pieces around him to utilize. So, you know, look, he can hand the ball off. You know, now with a lot of things going on, does Alvin Kamara even get suspended at this point? You know, if you're only going to give Deshaun Watson 6 games, but I'm not trying to get political here, and I won't. I'm just saying, you know, so we'll see. I think it was more about what was around Jameis versus Sean, you know, because look, we've had multiple situations where, you know, nobody said that about Teddy Bridgewater when they did that. Nobody said that about Taysom Hill when they did that. It's all about the focus on Jameis, which I get, but I don't know if it's completely fair or not.
I think it's more the case, if I look at it from the outside in, and I have nothing against Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston sent my daughter a jersey just because she cheered for him with the Bucs. So he and she's an English little girl at the age of 5 years old. She cheered for him, and he sent her a jersey. So as far as I'm concerned, Jameis Winston's a dude. What I mean to say is, if you talk about the touchdowns he got, but then you look at the yardage that came with that. It's not like he pushed the ball down there himself. He relied on a lot of different things, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with, because I think
who did he have the ball to push down to would be my question.
Sorry?
Who did he have to get the ball to would be my question.
Not many people.
Right. So that would be the ultimate thing. Is it Jameis or the receivers?
You've got a fair point. All I'm saying is, I'm looking at this from a positive, because by making him a bit of a game manager, you're taking him out of his head, which is always his problem when he was with the Bucs, because the Bucs gave him the freedom to do whatever the hell he wanted. Right, and he did whatever the hell he wanted, and he did sometimes do great things. Sometimes he did crazy things. He did a few crazy things at the Saints, but nowhere near as much. So sometimes what I'm saying is that Sean Payton offense is clicked into his head, and he's like, I don't need to do too much. I can rely on playmakers. And yes, sometimes in this case, the playmakers didn't level up to where they needed to be. What I'm trying to say is a game manager stance for him is kind of a good thing, because Jameis Winston's all in. That's how he rolls. He's been all in since day one. You look at his high school stats, there's a lot of interceptions there. You look at his college stats, there's a lot of interceptions there. And you look at his pro stats, a lot of interceptions there. So a little bit of a game management thing, and getting him to realize that he doesn't have to do everything, which is what probably every NFL OC has probably wanted to do with him, is just say, dude, just take a step back and just let it play. The Saints have done it. Realistically, they kind of got him to take a step back and stop trying to do everything. You guys did it.
Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, I don't know. I get your point, right? Like I get and understand what you're saying. You know, like who's a better play caller, Sean Payton or Cutter?
Mm-hmm.
There are some things that I do question about Jameis. Why is it at Florida State this wasn't an issue? And this isn't a shot at Tampa or anybody, but why was there an issue, not an issue at Florida State? Why wasn't it an issue so far in New Orleans? So we've seen 3 stops of Jameis in 2 places it not being an issue. Again, you didn't give him, he didn't have a great offensive line, really, honestly, since he was at Florida State. They've had issues at the Saints and with Tampa. I do question what has been around Jameis. A lot of people believe, I guess, well, he had Mike Evans, he had Chris Godwin. Well, that sounds good. Well, you went out and spent $67 million for Tom Brady on an offensive line that you didn't give Jameis. You went out and spent $20 million for a running back in Leonard Fournette. So you still went out and spent the money, whether it be Tristan Wirfs, because you're getting Tristan Wirfs at a first-round pick at $18 million. Then you go and get Jensen, who's down. So then you spend another $30 million. So you did go and you did utilize those pieces on the offensive line in Tampa. But I just want to see. I want to see what Jameis does this season without being hamstrung from if he is hamstrung from a personnel standpoint, not necessarily maybe a play calling, because the question will always be is what would the Saints have done? So we saw what the Saints were before, when Jameis was there, right? What happened when he left? Well, they fell off pretty drastically, right? Obviously there wasn't, the Saints have had multiple seasons where backup quarterbacks had to come in because Drew's been hurt and they've won. They still made the playoffs. Well, when Jameis went down, they didn't have the personnel to be able to back that up.
There's an argument. There's an argument for that. That offensive line, the only difference really is one guy. And let's face it, if we wouldn't have been very lucky, we probably wouldn't have got Tristan Wirfs. But that offensive line is pretty much the same offensive line. There's no big difference. He has, other than Gronk, you take Gronk out of it and you take Leonard Fournette out of it. Leonard Fournette was a last second sign-in, and he was a big contributor. I'm not going to discard that. He's not completely removed from the same weapons that were available to him. And he did a lot with them. He did a heck of a lot. He scored 30 touchdowns.
Would you take Mike Evans or Marquez Callaway?
All day, Mike Evans.
Would you take Gronk or would you take Adam Troutman?
Definitely Gronk.
Would you take the offensive line in Tampa or would you take the one in New Orleans?
I want the defensive line in New Orleans if we're playing that, but no.
You're valid.
I think it's somewhere in the middle, guys. I think, and this is watching Jameis from college. I can't say I watched him in high school. I don't know even how to do that. I'll say in Tampa, especially under Arians basically told him, go out there and chuck it up and let's see what happens.
Air out.
And so to Winston's defense, he was doing what he was told. And then he gets under Sean Payton, it felt like he had a calming effect. And the game slowed down a little bit for Jameis, and he saw the field better, therefore but making better decisions. So I think he was similar under Jimbo Fisher, although that second season, I think he was pressing in some games because he didn't have quite the team around him that he did the first year they won the championship. So I think if Jameis can play confident and calm, that the Saints are going to be brutal to deal with. My only question for Blake,
Saints are always brutal.
Yeah, if you're a Bucs fan, they're like kryptonite. But my question for Blake is, we saw Jameis really settle down and play the game at a high level under Sean Payton. Like the Buccaneers having a coaching change this year, so have the Saints. We as Bucs fans think that with Bruce Arians not at the helm anymore, that we're going to see a little more of a run style offense than we had with the no risk and no biscuit. Do you think that the Saints offense is going to be much different under the new head coach?
I think anytime you get a new head coach, things are different. And I think that you guys know that. And I get the Jensen comment. What I was just trying to say is you're spending the money to keep them there and you're spending the money offensively. That's all I was trying to say. But I think it's going to be different. I think Pete Carmichael, obviously, and you guys might remember this, when Sean Payton got suspended for the season, the Saints led the league in the most passing attempts, right? So they were very pass happy, and Pete Carmichael's very pass happy. And I think, dude, it's got to change just on the simple nature of if Kamara is out 6 weeks, right? Like, who is that who is that back that can help him in the running game? You do have a true left tackle, a new rookie starter at left tackle. You do have some good pieces that do return, but you do have situations with Cesar Ruiz in the past and Andrews Pete. Both have battled injuries. So I think things got to change from a personnel standpoint. And if you don't have Alvin Kamara, you're going to have to get the ball to Jarvis Landry, Mike Thomas, Chris Olave. You're going to have to find your guys out in space and try to utilize that until Alvin Kamara returns, if indeed he is suspended.
It's definitely a team, like, from my opinion, like, compared to last year, you guys have a lot more weapons to play with. So James Winston has a lot of toys. So the proof's going to be in his pudding, what he can do. It's going to be interesting more than anything. I mean, he played well last year. I'm not discarding that at all. I'm just thinking maybe I'm not saying they shackled him completely. I think the phrase is that he just seemed a little bit, compared to the James Winston Bucs fans are used to, which is loosey-goosey, he was a little bit more, it just seemed a little bit tighter. And that could just be coaching. That could be coaching, absolutely. And if I was a Saints fan, that's what I'm hoping it is. Because at the end of the day, that guy's got an arm. He knows how to play. And he has big playability. If you give him the weapons, we know what he can do. We already know, as Bucs fans, the damage that he can do. We also know how good your defense always has been against us. So it's more of a case of we're probably more hoping that he's just a game manager than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I mean, look, we'll see. I just don't. I don't know. Maybe we have a different definition of game manager, maybe, but we'll see.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, I don't think of him as a pure game manager. It's more the fact that it wasn't the same James Winston we're used to. That's all I'm saying. But go with that.
It never was going to be, because you threw the last time that he was at the Bucs, he threw over 600 passing attempts, right? Like, you guys just admitted that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he wasn't there. Again, he was on pace for 37 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. To me, if you're a game manager, you're not hitting the 30 touchdown mark, right? Like, you're not.
Absolutely not.
So shackled. I don't think that you can. I think that, like Dude said, I think the argument might be a little bit in the middle, but again, he didn't have the personnel, right? Like, I mean,
I completely agree.
Yeah.
But I think James Winston, regardless, would have taken those risks in Tampa. But that's not the point. Let's get away from that. What I want to talk about is Trevor Penning. He got kicked out of practice, right? So how do you see that? Do you see that just guys getting after it, or do you think that's a discipline thing? Because you've got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who's also had history of doing this kind of thing. Is that something that's a worry, that you've got two guys that could kick off at any time? Or is it more of a case of, no, we just got dudes who are just fighting for a roster, fighting to be dudes?
Well,
it's camp.
BJ Gardner-Johnson's never been kicked out of practice. I mean, Mike Thomas got kicked out of practice for swinging at him.
Absolutely.
So his thing is more on the field. I would rather have a guy that's too aggressive than not aggressive enough. Like, I feel like it's easier to reel him back, and look, as a, and Dude knows this, but a position that I played in college, like, when you're on the offensive line, one of these dudes has got to be like, I don't want to say kind of psychopathic, but kind of psychopathic, like, this isn't, when you lace up those cleats, and people take this as a cliche, but when you put on those cleats, you got to be an animal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to be a freak of nature. And now, do I like him getting kicked out of practice and fighting with teammates? No, I think he needs to find the line. But like, I watched the video, my buddy John Hendricks, who covers there, he was at the practice, and he pancakes the guy, and then two guys are coming up and pushing him, and I'm thinking to myself, well, he's going to defend himself, you know.
Mhm.
So I think it was kind of more of a message to him more than he actually really needed to get kicked out of practice. You
Yeah, I
know,
get it.
you know, the defender tried to put him in a headlock and then got body slammed. So, I mean, you put me in a headlock, we're going to fight too, you know? So I was it because, and what's crazy about this is the guy that, I think, what God bless it, his name slips me, but the guy that put him in the headlock got cut.
Wow. Well, there you go.
So
That's just it all, Blake.
Yeah.
Wait,
So
you said you played in college, is that right?
yeah.
What position did you play?
So I played center and I wasn't any good.
It don't matter. But you've had a little taste of football. You know a bit about playing the game. You know a little bit more to it than just talking it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
kind of
interesting. At that position, you got to be a dog. I mean, the last time that the best guy that I ever faced was a guy that, you know, Eagles fans love and Cowboys fans hate. Is a guy in the name of Fletcher Cox when he was at Mississippi State. So those dudes separate themselves, man. Those dudes are different. Those dudes are, you know, if you're not bringing your lunch pail like a Trevor Penning, you know, like I think Jensen's kind of got that dog in him like that. He doesn't get.
That's where I was going to go with it. That's where I was going to go with it. Because I was going to say to you, how much would it, like, losing someone like that, how much does it affect the Bucs? You played the position. You've got a guy who's doing things at that position. How much does it affect the Bucs of losing somebody like that with that attitude?
Oh, I mean, well, you know, there's a statistic that Pro Football Focus and comes out with, and I don't remember the exact percentage, but it's like 80% of teams lose an additional 2 games when their starting center goes down.
Wow.
So I think it's a big deal. You know, the Saints, it was the same deal for them a couple seasons ago. They lost their center. I mean, it's a big, and Eric McCoy, I mean, it's a very big deal.
I think I agree with you. I think the Buccaneers are trying to figure it out, whether they go down the free agent route or they just stick with the guy that they got. That's
and it's really slick. What it comes down to too is when you're in the dome, as an example, and you can't hear Tom the shotgun making the call. Is the audible or whatever Tom's calling when he sees something and he checks out of it, does the new center or whoever may be there, do they see the same thing? So if you got pressure coming from the right side and it's 3rd and 4, does Godwin get hit on a quick slant, or does Mike Evans get hit on a quick slant? Those are the small things. And does the new center kick the line back out? Is there some communication? Like how long does that how much does that affect it? I mean, Tom Brady's Tom Brady. So I think that he always finds a way. So I'm not, you know, a lot of people are freaking out about the Bucs offensive line issues. I feel like that man could have a bottle of mustard and a thing of ketchup, and he'd find a way to get himself into the playoffs or the Super Bowl. That's just my opinion. So whatever he's got, I trust in Tom.
I remember I was very lucky to be privy to a NFL UK. They did like a live stream of a couple of players, and one of the players was a Saints player, Jordan Cameron, and they asked him who his least favorite player he's ever played against with, and it was Ryan Jensen. He said, "I hate that piece of shit." His words were, "I hate that piece of shit center from Tampa," and they asked him why, and he went, "Because he is a animal. He will go after everyone. He is mean as." And he will go after everyone. And it just sometimes it can mess up your defense, because you watch Ryan Jensen walking back from the huddle, he is clipping everyone on purpose. Like he's walking into them. He ain't walking straight, he's walking zigzag.
He got fined. He did something happen during that Saints game last year. I forget what happened. Maybe somebody
there's an altercation of some sort, yeah, for sure. But you're always going to get that in a heated division game. As always, it's just the way it is. Finally, I just want to, like, as a guy covering the Saints, you know, we got Saints on my team. Like, my quarterback is a Saints guy. We got a couple more. Who is your least favorite Bucs player, past, present, future? Well, future doesn't count, but past and present. Who do you look at and go, "Oh God, not him"?
Well, right now it's
without taking out Tom Brady. Got to take out Tom Brady.
I got to tell you, probably my least favorite was Rondé Barber, or Derek Brooks, maybe.
Okay.
Derek Brooks was a dirt man for us Saints fans, because it always felt like when the game was online, maybe he made a play. I'm trying to think. I feel like that's not a. I feel like when I get off of here, I'm gonna regret my.
Speaking to someone else.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of like the guy that. I'll tell you what gets me more pissed off than anything is when the Bucs draft or get LSU guys. That really pisses me off.
So Devin White.
Devin White, Quan Alexander. Who else?
You still got Quan?
Leonard Fournette was on that team.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. There was who's the other receiver? But Cyril
Grayson.
Right. Yep. But he didn't play football. He just ran track. But
Kendall Beckwith used to be with us as well. He was an LSU boy.
Who was that?
Kendall Beckwith. Kendall
Beckwith. Yeah, Kendall Beckwith was another
we do like those New Orleans boys.
Yeah, no doubt.
Do you still have Quan? Is Quan still on the team?
No, Quan's with the Jets. Quan got picked up.
Okay. Someone's got to do something.
Friday or Thursday, yeah.
Hey, we're on here live with Blake Ruffino from Are You Serious Sports. Blake, it's Saturday night. We know you got a busy schedule. You probably got a lot of stuff going on tomorrow. Can you do us a favor before you jump off here?
Yeah, man.
Tell us where everybody can find you. Tell us what you got coming up. And again, thank you so much for taking the time, brother.
Yeah, my little 3-year-old keeps hitting me with a balloon. That's why I keep getting distracted and all this kind of stuff, But Are You Serious Sports across the board? We just launched our premium message board, so go to ayssnetwork.com. Subscribe. You can do the monthly or the annual. The annual gives you 2 free months. We've been out at LSU practice every day. We got guys in New Orleans at Saints camp, so we're trying to conquer and divide here as much as we can, as it is the most busiest month of my life. I'm sure your guys' lives as well. So go check it out, AYS Sports on Twitter and all that good stuff. And Slick and Dude, thanks for having me on.
No worries,
man. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks, guys. Y'all have a good night. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. All right, Slick. So what we're hearing is that offense of the Saints can be dangerous, and we know their defensive line is brutal. So, Bucs fans, that's a little bit of know your enemy. Coming up here in a couple minutes, though, we got a gentleman named BJ Nix of the Pick Six Sports Podcast. He's a Dallas Cowboy guy. And you're thinking, oh, God, this is a Bucs show. Why is there a Cowboy guy in here? Well, we play the Cowboys.
Don't know your enemy, dude.
Know your enemy. So, Slick, while we wait on BJ to get here, what is going on over? We got a brief taste of the Black Knights schedule coming up, their game. What's the big? We hear you're going to play. So what position are you going to play there?
Wow, I think unfortunately it'll be the position I hate the most for my. I'd say my stature is probably. I'm a skinny ass bitch is probably what it's really at that likes hitting. So it's more than likely I'm going to play corner. Hereford's corners aren't particularly route savvy. They rely on 1 or 2 play. They have a good run game. And they have a good slot receiver, and that's it. So I was literally given pointers. Well, last time we played them, we were down to players, and I donned the pads and went in there. I would have played every season the Knights have existed. So this will be my 8th season if I do don the pads, which is very likely. And I would be one of 2 people who played the Knights in every single season that they've ever existed, which is kind of cool. I'll take that to the grave.
So you say they're not very much of a passing team. You're playing corner. Does that mean you're going to?
No, they're passing, but they only pass to 1 person.
So are you going to be playing some run support?
I will be playing corner because I think that's the position they might most likely put me, and their corners are not very good. I could probably turn them inside out if I wanted to. They're not physical. I remember the last time we played them, I was giving them tips on how to play wide receiver.
Okay, so then we have to get a real-time stat prediction for Slick tomorrow. What are we going to get here, buddy? How many pass breakups? Any interceptions, fumble recovery tackles?
It depends on how much I'm ending up playing. Obviously, the wife doesn't want me to play at all. I want to because there's a lot of, as I said in the last show, there's quite a few connotations, and I can't talk about it until after. I mean, I'll tell you, but like that's private. There's some stuff that's going to go down that is really going to affect the team in the future. So a lot of me really wants to just lace them up and just go. For me, I think it's just trying to get as many tackles as I can and just fucking drill motherfuckers. That's all I want to do.
Thing. That's a beautiful thing. That's the way you play football, man.
That's my philosophy. Just get out there.
We've got BJ Nix from Pick Six Sports coming up here shortly. Slick, you realize 7 days from today is the Buccaneers' first preseason game.
I know. I can't wait.
And Tom Brady's not playing.
Yeah, but Stephen Ross is probably like this.
He's hiding in the background, you know?
Yeah.
Well, he's going to be, you know, those glasses with the fake nose and mustache. This guy, he's going to be in the stands wearing one of those.
Guess who? That's what makes me think of. Guess who?
Absolutely. All right, guys, we got BJ Nix coming up here shortly. After that, we got Garrett Ballard from Sports Talk Florida and Bucs Report. He's going to come in, and then in the 10 o'clock hour, we're going to open up the video.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I've never interviewed. I've got a good friend of mine's a Cowboys fan, so I think I'm hoping he's watching this. That'd be kind of cool because
a Cowboys boo.
The thing is, when you're a football fan in the UK, it doesn't matter what team you support. You hear someone talk football, like our football, you are automatically like, just talk to me. Tell me what you want. I don't care if you only talk about your team. It's fine. I get to talk football. I get to talk about cover 3. I get to talk about this. I get to talk about this person. I get to talk about that person. Because it's so rare. And it really is and it really isn't. Because if you watch my show, there are a few people out there that are real passionate. And we have to go through a few hoops to even just get a good jersey these days. But I do believe our guest has popped in.
Yes, he has. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and you drunk idiots out there, from the Pick Six Sports, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, we got BJ Nix. We're going to bring him on. He's going to tell us everything we need to know about the Dallas Cowboys. Again, this is Know Your Enemy, live on Bucs Report, live on Sports Talk Florida, live on the NFL edition. BJ, welcome to the show, brother.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much for having me. Hope everybody's doing fantastic on this Saturday. Know thy enemy. I like that. And yes, you had it correct, by the way. Pick Six Sports. Perfect.
Beautiful. BJ is quite the entrepreneur. And I probably said that with a Southern accent unintentionally. We want to get that gratuitous plug in there if you want to for the games, if you're down for that. Because I see you working hard every day, brother. Good Morning Earth is what you hear from BJ every morning on Facebook. It's a beautiful thing. BJ, what's going on with and don't forget to give that plug of your shop there. What's going on with the Cowboys, man? Week 1, Buccaneers, Sunday Night Football. It's in your house this year. What's the difference going to be?
Man, look, teams are just different every year in the way that this league operates now. There's just so many different pieces that move and happen that obviously there's some familiarity there from the teams from last year still on the roster, but there's a lot of new faces. Obviously, I know y'all suffered a key injury at the center position and seeing how you're going to handle those. We've lost some pieces offensively with that fireworks of a display that we had last year on opening night for the NFL season. So a little different, but some familiarity, right? We know exactly what your defense is bringing with that front line. But on the backside, our defense wasn't where in its final form, if you will, when we played y'all week 1 as to where it got to by the end of the season. So that's going to be a nice change of pace to see how this matchup goes being week 1 again. And of course, yes, coming up here August 23rd, 13 years, games to go. Facebook, Instagram, games to number 2 go. You can go follow us out over there. We have an online shop coming here pretty soon. So yeah, rock with us over there and kind of see what we do. We post a little bit of everything about pop culture, what we get in. But thanks for the plug for the games to go side there, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. And look for that link to be embedded in some of these Bucs Report articles because even though he's a Cowboy fan, we like what BJ does. Now, BJ, I want to introduce you. This gentleman over here on the other side of me, Stevie Probert. He goes by Slick. He is a defensive coordinator for the Worcestershire Black Knights American football
You do it
team.
on purpose every time.
I was going to say wash your sister sauce, but
Wash your sister sauce. Yeah.
And we got Slick as well as a couple other people from the United Kingdom getting more involved with them, trying to spread that NFL love across the globe. And BJ, I wanted to introduce you to this guy because although he talks a little funny, he actually knows football, so that's a beautiful thing. Slick, BJ, Slick. That didn't sound right, but I know Slick's been chomping at the bit to ask some Cowboy questions, so he's been bugging me all week.
Fair enough.
Yeah, man. I mean, I follow a little bit of your stuff, so I'm just gonna ask straight up. Trayvon Diggs, his playmaking skill set is always been the thing that everyone talks about. But the one thing that other people talk about is the fact that he can lose a lot. What are you hoping to see more out of him out of camp?
Got you. And obviously we got some one-on-one drills, and as a defensive coordinator, you would understand this. The one-on-one drills are DBs and linebackers' nightmares. There's no pressure on the quarterback. They have all day to throw the ball. So he was beat a little bit. So he got beat up a little bit in the one-on-one drills and kind of messed up some of his press technique.
Totally agree. I turn around to my defense and turn around and went, they get all day to throw. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
That's the first thing I say. It's like,
Yeah, man, it's really one of those. It's one of those drills that you're going to run to gain your offense, your wide receiver, your weapons, some confidence. But on the other side of that, and we know what he did last year, I think I talk about this a lot, that repeating 11 interceptions is very hard in this league. I mean, 11 interceptions is the first time it's been done in like almost 40 years. Mm-hmm. But what you want to see is, the balancing act a little bit more. So it's possible for him to only come away with 6 or 7 interceptions, but theoretically have a better season depending on how he's locking up and if he's traveling and doing those things. So, young guy, if you look the jump from year 1 to year 2 with him and you saw where it's at, a lot of these players progress up until that 3rd, 4th year, and you kind of see them really walk through the door. So that's really exciting for me when it gets to Diggs. Is if he was doing what he did last year in year 2, I'm very excited to see the technique with the same coaches as well. We know about Al Harrison, what he did in this league as a cornerback and being up, coaching him up. Joe Witt's another great guy who's been around this league, coaching the DBs up. So I'm excited. Again, the numbers could drop interception-wise, but the production, the unseen stuff that you want to see from cornerbacks could be a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, that for me is probably what I would want to see. I'd rather see 4 interceptions and very little, lots of passes defensed, or a lot of nothing going his, or no one throwing his way because they're too scared to throw it his way. Less interceptions from like his side, or not interceptions in that sense, but more the sense that he's not giving up the long ball or anything like that. But just the fact, like you said, locking up with his guys, staying with him, doing his job. And it doesn't at the end of the day, when it comes down to winning a championship, it doesn't matter how many interceptions. You can have 100 interceptions, maybe not 100, but you can have a lot of interceptions.
You got 100, you might be doing something.
You got 100, you're doing all right. You're doing all right. But you can have a lot of
100 interceptions. You're playing. If you got 100 interceptions, I'm sorry, you're playing Jameis Winston every week. That's what's going on there.
More than likely. But at the same time, like if you're locking up a guy and they're just not catching balls, then you've done your job. Like that whole like
right.
That means just as much as an INT. And sometimes when the ball's thrown deep and it's in your 10. And you're probably going to fall over catching it, it might be better just to bat that ball away sometimes.
Very true. And I would say the other thing, too, for him, the league has changed some, right? Mm-hmm. We have to understand that, because if you look how many times he was targeted last year, I think he was only targeted 3 more times than Jalen Ramsey. So the league has changed in the way of when we think about Revis Island, or you go back to the Deion Sanders type of stuff. So the way that they have this set now, I don't know if you're ever going to have just this true to life lockdown guy. Like, look, Jalen Ramsey's great. Jalen Ramsey also gave a bunch of yards. And if you go back to the playoff game, I mean, even in the Super Bowl, I mean, he got honey roasted a little bit, right? But
Mike Evans got one on him.
Right. Facts. Evans got him in the Super Bowl. But again, you want that kind of guy in the way that he plays. So a little bit, mix it up and maybe a little bit more of a, get his hands in the press technique and stuff like that, kind of what you were talking about, Slick, and maybe a little bit more of the batting the ball away than maybe gambling and maybe giving up a bigger play.
Yeah, I want to follow. I want to follow this up, or maybe not follow it up. I want to ask you this though, BJ.
Sure.
We all have Twitter. We all have Facebook. We can refresh the news feed, and we get the top stories out of every NFL camp. Nothing deep, nothing too in depth. So you covering the Cowboys, you being a Cowboys fan, what's the story or the player that no one's talking about that we should be?
Yeah, probably wide receiver Dennis Houston, the rookie undrafted kid. He's had a very good camp. Now the next step has to come whenever they play the preseason game and the lights come on and see what he does there. But he's been exceptional. He's been the big buzz of camp. We've heard Dak talk about him, Lamb talk about him. He's been in the press conferences. So he would be one for sure that I would say, kind of one of the guys out there, because the Fogels and some of these undrafted guys we were talking about, and all of a sudden Dennis Houston was out here, putting in really good work. And actually today I was watching the camp today. He had a great catch in between in traffic. So now it's just to the point of, okay, you've proven it in this camp. Now can you prove it when the lights come on against another team? So that's kind of next up. But he's probably the one thing that's been very surprising that no one was thinking about or talking about heading into camp.
And to follow up with that, I would say, do you see Dallas picking up a free agent now with the way that the Dallas ownership has always been like? You recently have seen more like about the draft and building your own brand rather than, we'll take that guy, we'll take that guy, that would take that guy, would take that guy. Do you see them potentially going for an Odell Beckham? Or would you rather, and your own personal opinion on that? Yeah. So what you want to compare to what the team wants? Where would you want to go?
I got you. For me, I'm going to give you the answer on that. I want to pivot a little bit too. We need a swing tackle really badly, but I'll cover that in a second. And the wide receiver front, I just think they're not going to add. I'll give you what they're not going to do, in my opinion, and then I'll tell you what I would do. Okay, I'm going to answer it in that realm. Is I think they're going to wait till the preseason game comes and goes, and then we might see them get busy and see what happens there. They're going to be very patient. They've talked about it before they got to camp. Since they've been in camp, they've been very patient. They want to see these young guys and what they have before they actually make any kind of moves. And they've stuck to their guns on that so far. I mean, our kicking situation is atrocious right now. The rookie Garrett Ballard from Texas Tech, I think so far in camp, he's like 51% making his field goals. So they got to do something there soon. But
I think so would be available.
Right. But what I would do, I would look at, when I look at the list, like a guy like Emmanuel Sanders calls out to me. I know he's 35, but I don't need him to come in to be the number two. Tober's going to be there. And realistically, Dalton Schultz is your number two as far as what Dak's going to look at. But just someone to get me here to get till Gallup comes back. Someone, and that's what James Washington was supposed to be. Now with the injury out to 6 to 10 weeks, probably not going to happen. So that's where I'm at. Emmanuel Sanders would be the guy. He can play outside. He can play inside. I don't have to rely on him heavy. Just get me till the Gallup is cleared and ready to come back. And they're in-house. They're thinking he's going to come back a lot sooner than later. A lot of the buzz is maybe only 3 games he misses, maybe 4 at the most, as compared to where we were thinking maybe it was going to be closer to Thanksgiving beforehand. So that's another reason why maybe they've kind of paused on bringing in another wide receiver. But I would do something. Maybe look at like a Denzel Mims from the Jets, who's kind of down the ranks here. He has the bigger body. You can flip a late round draft pick. It wouldn't cost you a lot to go get him, and he can help you get across that line. You got a young guy here.
Okay, I got one for you. Why not Odell Beckham Jr.? I mean, he's that elite wide receiver.
Right, but he's not going to be. I mean, he's injured. I mean, he won't be available week 1, and that's the big thing because he hurt the ACL.
And you want a guy ready to go.
You got to have somebody right now. Yeah. Now, if you want to add him and kind of Malik Hooker, what we did with Malik Hooker last year on the defensive side, he was hurt. He had to heal. You signed him and you brought him along slowly, and then the last half of the season, you really saw him come in and be a playmaker for us. And now this year, he's walking through the door being the starter day 1. Sure, but if we're talking about what the Cowboys need currently right now to get to that point when Gallup gets here, Odell's not able to do that for them. And of course, if Odell was healthy, he'd be somewhere already.
To be fair, more than likely.
Absolutely. Hey, we're live right now with Slick and the Dude, training camp live with BJ Nix of I'm gonna screw it up here again. Let me just read it off the screen like an idiot. Should I do that? Let's do that, bud.
I got something written different here.
We're live with BJ Nix from Pick Six Sports. BJ, we had a question on the screen, but first we want to give a shout out to Alex Schomburg for some video that we've used there from training camp, Buccaneers training camp, and a big shout out to Mr. Buck Nation James, always tuning in, always supporting the channel. You got to see a little brief glimpse of the Ryan Jensen injury from training camp. That is courtesy of Mr. Bucks Nation. So without further ado there, BJ, we've got a question from Mr. Ben Cornett. He's tuning in from Las Vegas, Nevada. Yeah, he's a Bucks fan out there in the black hole. Realistically, BJ, how do you see the Cowboys doing this season?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like, you know, and we let off talking about the game that we opened up against y'all last year to what's going to happen this year. And the league just changes so much from year to year. Last year, this time going into training camp and a couple of weeks in there, I was like, well, I think the Cowboys are probably a 10-7 win team. I got to see what this defense looks like to me. They got through the preseason, and when we did our season preview show, I saw enough from the defense. I think they can win 11 games. And they ended up winning 12. And if we had a kicker, make a couple of kicks maybe in Tampa and then against the Raiders, maybe we won a couple more. But neither here nor there. Fast forward to this season, I think it's a 10-7 win team. But what's this offensive line going to look like? I'm not really worried about the defense this year, but this offensive line, it's got question marks. It really does. Anywhere from, obviously, the big names, Martin, Tyron Smith. I mean, those guys. But the other three-fifths of this offensive line, there's question marks to be had there to see how that's going to come together. So currently, I think they're a 10-7 win team, depending on what this offensive line looks at. And then once we get through preseason, I'll either maybe go up, go down, or maybe I'll push. But 10-7 is where I have them at right now until I'll see more from this offensive line.
All right, you heard that. You heard that, Ben. 10-7. Hey, we got you on record at 10-7, man. If you go better, we're going to dog you a little bit. Slick. Let's give BJ one more question, then we'll wrap him up and move on to the other gentleman in the lobby there. But
in the lobby.
Click,
okay.
hit him with something good, man.
I got a double whammy, and actually I got triple. So I'll go with this because 2 going to 1, and the other one is together as well. So it's a triple. It's a quadruple for 2.
All right, let's go.
my first
that must be that metric conversion or something there.
Because you guys have you said you're where is the offensive line? Now we all know if you have a running back, it's all about the offensive line as well as how good your running back is. And you've got the words were touted, a generational talent of a running back there in Ezekiel Elliott. Do you see him being a running back king or a running back joker? And I don't mean that meanly in a mean sense. It's just he hasn't been to the level that he was always at. He still can do the smart stuff. Like, he knows who to block. Like, we saw that in the Tampa game. He can do what you need to do, but he can't produce the yards, which, let's face it, when you're paying money, that's what they're paying for. They're not paying for blocks. They're paying for yards.
Yeah.
It's a bonus, the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, and for him last year, ended up being at 7th in the league in rushing. I think it was 5th in the NFC. Just a smidge over 1,000 yards. He averaged like 4.2 yards.
That's not bad.
Not bad. Yeah, it's not bad. And then the big thing, he had 10 touchdowns, and that was really on a bad knee for what it's worth, because he tore the PCL in the Panthers game, and he just kind of played throughout the season. So realistically, you want to see him be able to play a little bit at the level of the beginning of the season before the injury, and to carry that through, and then maybe see Tony Pollard use a lot. That's one of the big things in Cowboys Nation that we talk about a lot, is the lack of usage for Tony Pollard at times with the speed of what he can do. So hopefully we see more of that. And you're not wrong. Something to help this offensive line come full force here is to run the ball more and not sit back and have to pass block a lot. So if they were able to get this run game going early with the two-headed attack, and we've seen some of that in camp, they actually had them both lined up, and Zeke was lead blocking for Pollard. So it'll be interesting to see how they throw that out there and what they do with it. But I'm with you. A good running game helps a young offensive line. It just does, because they're just moving forward and really getting after the attack. And we'll see, but it'll kill him, or he'll get a little pass happy on you. So we'll see what happens. Why
not? And then my final double whammy is, you still them boys? And is it your
Yeah, you know,
Is
look,
it your year?
I mean, here's the thing. Let's be clear. Hey, the Dallas Cowboys keep the lights on in the NFL. Okay, I don't know how else to say it to y'all. It's just what it is. I mean, you're not going to watch ESPN or FS1. I don't matter how bad we are or how good we are. They're going to talk about us and lead off every single show, every single day, every single time with us. So, man, we keep the lights on the NFL. So, whether we're them boys on the field or not, we are definitely them boys in America's team, because you're going to tune in, whether you love us or hate us, you're going to tune in and watch us, baby. That's what
I
it
love
is.
it. I love that. That's the answer I wanted. That's the answer I wanted to hear. A little bit of modesty, but a little bit like, yeah, we still got it. I like that.
You
I
know,
like
it was Mitch.
keep the vibe. Keep the vibe. I love it. Thanks again, man. Much appreciated.
Yeah,
BJ.
absolutely. I'm going to plug. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, BJ, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? And again, plug that store, man.
Yeah, 10-4. Games to go. The games number 2 go. By all means, go over there, check it out, and see what we got rocking on that way. We appreciate the love. If you're on the Twitterverse, in Twitterland, it's your_guy_Nix, Nix. Make them over there and follow me. I run a ton of Twitter spaces. A lot of our live content hits over there too. We had a great guest last week from A to Z Sports. A week before that, we had Kyle Yeomans from DallasCowboys.com come by and kick it with us. So by all means, come check it out. And hey, look, man, if you kind of like this or you know some Cowboys friends, Pick 6 Sports, pick the number 6 Sports YouTube. Go over there as well. Or if you follow me on Twitter, you can hit it and you'll see in my bio the YouTube link. Go over there and follow us on that one, man. Appreciate you fellas for having me tonight. Anytime you need me, you already know, sir. Just inbox me, let me know, man.
Hey, we appreciate you, BJ. Everybody, BJ Nix from, again, Pick 6 Sports. Find it on Facebook. It's all over the interwebs, man. BJ, much love to the family. Much love to everything you got going on. We appreciate your time, brother.
No, anytime, brother. Appreciate y'all. You have a good evening.
Thank you, sir.
So guess what?
Next guest, baby.
We got another guest in the lobby. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Coming on live here with Slick and the Dude. Garrett Ballard, Sports Talk Florida, Bucs Report, writer, media up-and-coming mogul extravaganza here. University of Florida. We won't hold that against him, though. We're going to go ahead and bring him on screen, and then we're going to put him right in between two Seminoles and say, Garrett, glad to see you're feeling better, and we're glad to get you back on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Garrett Ballard.
How's it going, everybody? Can hear me well? All's good?
Beautiful,
yeah,
beautiful.
We got you perfect.
Perfect.
Beautiful. Garrett, I'm not sure. I think you've already met Slick, but if you haven't, that's Slick. He's from the United Kingdom. Let's just say with Slick on the show, it's kind of TVMA. So, you might hear some words that, the professor will tell you not to say on the air. So, Jim Williams, if you're watching out there from Sports Talk Florida, Garrett's not doing this, okay? But no, Slick, I'm right there with you. I'm just behaving myself. Garrett, before I hand you over to Slick, because Slick, I know, has got some questions prepared for you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Sports Talk Florida, what you've been going on there? Tell us, unfortunately, about what you do with the University of Florida, and let us know what you got coming up as far as articles on Sports Talk Florida and Bucs Report.
Yeah, so pretty much right now for Sports Talk Florida, I am just writing some game stories covering the Rays. Just every night you can find a game story up the following morning after a game. Just get a little bit of a recap, nothing too hard to read or comprehend. And then coming up, I should be attending training camp soon, and then eventually the home games for the Bucs, and I'll be bringing stories to both Sports Talk Florida and Bucs Report there. At UF, I think I'll be doing some stuff for Sports Talk Florida as well, covering their football games. So yeah, just a lot of football, baseball content coming up.
Arguably the busiest man in Tampa sports media right now, Garrett Ballard. Before I hand you off to Slick, I'm not even sure what Slick's questions are, so I might be stepping on his toes here, but that's okay. We all know Ryan Jensen went down, and the Buccaneers seem intent on rolling with Robert Hainsey until they're not. I know you haven't got a chance to get to training camp, but like all of us, you're refreshing Twitter. You're watching everything you can. You're reading all the reports. What's your take so far on the Robert Hainsey experience?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard nothing but positive remarks from the coaching staff, from other offensive linemen. Shaq Mason was interviewed today was just raving about how intelligent he was at center. I think in his first day with the first team, there was one rep at the end of practice where he snapped the ball over Brady's head. But other than that, I've heard that he's done what he needs to do. The only thing that is slightly concerning to me is JT Olson and I talked about it on our podcast just a couple days ago, is that Nick Leverett, the another backup, is still in the competition for that starting center job. And he got reps last year. I think it was was it the Colts game? And it was not pretty. When Ali Marpet and Jensen kind of had some they had to switch positions a little bit. It did not work very well. So the fact that Hainsey hasn't completely solidified that job yet is a bit concerning to me, but I expect that to come in time. The preseason game will be very telling.
Take it, Slick. I know you got stuff. I know, because he's way over there in the United Kingdom. Turns out they can't even buy stuff from NFLshop.com here in America. They got to go to some other bootleg website or pay, I don't know, an extraordinary fee. So he might not have everything we have as far as content. Slick, what do you got for Garrett? Because let me tell you, he's solid with the writing, solid with the analysis. Like I said earlier, he's all over. He's got the Creamsicle Chronicles podcast with JT Olson, our favorite long-haired hippie. And yeah, I know you're watching, JT. But Slick, what do you got for him?
Okay, so the Buccaneers have made their picks.
Yeah.
Rolling camp. Which Buccaneers pick do you think this season will get the most production / opportunity this season?
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of break that down into two kind of like separate answers just real quick, just the production and opportunity. I think opportunity-wise, I think Cade Otton is in a really, really nice position to kind of show us what he's made of. We signed Kyle Rudolph. We have Kokeeft again and Cameron Brate, but that is an average at best tight end room. With the rookie coming in, who I was personally pretty high on in the draft. I think his ability is pretty good in both blocking and pass catching. I think he's really in a good position to kind of take the most of his opportunity. I don't know when those opportunities will come, but I know they will, because the Bucs were high on him pre-draft. There were 4 or 5 tight ends that they had their eye focused on, and he was one of them. So when he fell in their laps in the 4th round, it was a pretty no-brainer pick for them. I remember just going in the whole day before, like, yeah, this is going to be Cade Otton, and it was. And then production-wise, I think Rachaad White is going to have a really, really good opportunity to produce at a high level. I really like his pass catching skills. And while Leonard Fournette did improve on those skills last season, it's not going to hurt to take reps off of Lenny, as we have him for 3 more years now with that deal. Less mileage on a running back is always good. So splitting up the pound the rock guy to Lenny and then the pass catching to maybe Rachaad White, I think that's going to be really key. And I think he is probably already ahead of Keyshawn Vaughn in terms of the depth chart. Giovanni Bernard might have a little edge because of his veteran status. I'm not entirely sure. But I think he's got a really, really good opportunity to really open some eyes this season. I just drafted him a rookie draft for a dynasty league, in fact. So
I know. So my the routine part of the question is, you referred to Rachaad White.
Yep.
Do you see him being that 3rd down back this year? That guy that they go to on the pass? Because that's the one thing that a lot of people have told me personally. I don't get to go to training camp. I'm way, way too far away to see anything. Is that they are using him in pass catching a heck of a lot because of what he could do in college. Do you see him replacing the Giovanni Bernard role that Giovanni Bernard had at the time?
Absolutely. I think it's probably only a matter of time. Like I said, Bernard might have it week 1 heading out of the preseason, but I think, maybe even out of the preseason, Rachaad White's going to kind of tear it up in these preseason snaps because he's going to get a lot of them because he's not a surefire starter yet. So I think it's only a matter of time before he bursts onto the scene and takes over that RB2 third down back role.
Absolutely. So we're going into our first preseason game. We got a joint practice coming up.
Yep.
Everyone's talking about the Dolphins and what's going on with Brady. So I'm going to ask a different question. What battle between position group versus position group, OVD, running backs versus this, DBs versus wide receiver, are you most looking forward to seeing in joint training camp?
Yeah, for me, it's got to be the wide receivers and the DBs. We've seen our DBs struggle against speed receivers, kind of twitchier receivers, and Miami's full of them. I mean, they got Jalen Waddle, a second-year player who's looking like a real stud, and then obviously they got Tyreek Hill from that big trade in the offseason.
Yeah.
And they also signed Cedric Wilson away from the Cowboys, who I think is a really underrated receiver in the NFL. Those are three guys who can kind of beat you with their quickness. Obviously, you got the speed with Hill and Waddle also, which is a threat all in its own. Like that's a very important trump card that they have that they can play on any play. But these types of receivers have given our long physical corners trouble in the past, and it's going to be a big test for them. But I'm really, really excited to see how they handle it.
I like what you said about the long physical corners that we have, because that is exactly my philosophy on how the Buccaneers play their corners. And a lot of people don't realize this. They just think they're not very good. I said, no, they're fine. But they're used to playing that long game, because the Buccaneers vibe is, we'll let you complete it short. We'll let you complete it short. We'll let you complete it short. And then you're going to get into our end zone and you're not going to complete nothing, because there's no space to complete it, because this field's so condensed. And the Buccaneers are a very good, not what's the best way of stopping from school a non-touchdown team, red zone defense, kind of team. And I think a lot of people forget sometimes the scheme and the vibe of your team doesn't always necessarily marry into what you want out of the player you want. So we see a player and we're like, oh, well, he's really bad because he did X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, no, because he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's letting it go deep. He is covering the deep ground. And when you see it go deep, then that's when we get frustrated, because the Buccaneers aren't supposed to stop. We all have the infamous phrase of Deion Sanders of nothing cheap, nothing deep, no seams, no post, no goes. It's iterated into our heads that we know that's something you're not supposed to do. But the Buccaneers' biggest weakness has always been their DBs in recent years. Do you see someone really solidifying I wouldn't say the left-hand side, I don't know which way you describe it, the other cornerback side? Who do you think is going to win that battle?
Yeah, from all indications, it's, I think to the surprise of most people, going to be Sean Murphy-Bunting. He's been playing a lot there and Coach Todd Bowles has been very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Complimentary of his play there in training camp. We've seen him in the slot and the nickel last year with Jamel Dean outside, and now Dean's getting reps with the second team instead of the first. I think Bunting's natural position is outside corner rather than nickel, because, like we said, he's a bit longer, he's faster. Ran a 4.40 at the combine, I want to say, if I remember. I remember
Dean being quick. I remember Dean being like stupidly quick. He's one of the quickest in his class, but I'm not sure about Murphy Bunting.
Yeah, Murphy Bunting ran a 4.4. Dean ran a low 4.3, low 4.3. But we've seen Dean he's inconsistent. Both of them are inconsistent. I don't think there's like a one hard solution to that right away. I think it's going to kind of be, you're going to see both of them play there on certain snaps. I think majority, though, between the two, it's going to be Sean Murphy-Bunting.
I think I can see that. I mean, when I look at, I started as a DB, then I became a DB coach, and then I became a defensive coordinator. So when I look at players and how they act and how they react to plays, the biggest criticism I have of Jamal Dean, and both of them, to be honest, probably less Dean in this case, is they tend to stare at the quarterback when they're in man coverage, and they're not looking at the hips of the guy they're facing, which is the cardinal sin of anyone in man defense. And I'm no one to say that I know better than an NFL football player. I never will. But I look at things like that and I'm like, well, that's wrong. You can't do that. Like, of course you're going to get burnt because you're too busy staring at the quarterback to see in your peripheral if you can do it. If you're good, you can use your peripheral vision to read what someone else is doing, and that way you can trick the quarterback into making him believe that he's open and he's actually not. So yeah. I look at these guys, but we get burnt by these guys sometimes, and we make our plays too. We make our plays too. But I see these guys struggling sometimes, and I'm like, that's because you're zeroed in on the quarterback. You need to split the difference. You need to have what I think the best way to describe is you need to have that triangle read. The triangle read is where you got your peripheral vision on this side is on your, depending on which side you are on, obviously, is on the quarterback, and the peripheral vision on this side is looking at your wide receiver, and the bit in the middle is the dump off to the running back, that run game. And that allows you to build it. But it just seems they're so zeroed in, and this is just my opinion. I don't know personally. Never met any of these players. They're so zeroed in on what the quarterback's doing. They don't see the guy going over the top of them, and they're like, oh, I better go chase him now. And it's a little bit too late. And that's what I've seen personally of a defensive back play that someone like Carlton Davis doesn't have, because Carlton Davis is way more disciplined. He just gets burnt sometimes, which, let's face it, everyone gets burned. Sometimes you're a piece of toast.
And that's fine. I mean, Carlton Davis, one of the better shutdown corners in the NFL. I think another thing that is a bit underrated about Sean Murphy-Bunting that not very many people are talking about, at least that I can see, is that he by far has the best ball skills of any of our cornerbacks.
Yeah, he's got good hands.
Yeah, he's got the hands. Carlton has bricks for hands. Jamel Dean, same thing. Murphy-Bunting get his hands on the ball, and we need that more. So if he can thrive at outside corner, get his hands on the ball, that's going to be big time.
Speaking of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive backs, which is one thing I'm really interested in myself, being a former defensive coordinator and a former DB coach. Who do you like? I'm a huge fan of Antoine Winfield Jr. I think he's got the ball hawk in him. He's got the attitude in him. But then you get that a little something different from Edwards, who is able just to pick everything off. He just seems to have a nose for the ball. It doesn't matter where he goes. Is he just a Tampa package or a too high package guy, or do you see him being more of I've been told in camp they're seeing a lot of Antoine Winfield playing the nickel position, and maybe you have Antoine Winfield goes from a one high to the nickel position, and then you bring in Edwards as the one high guy, and then you have two ball hawks on the field at one time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the dream scenario there, is that they're getting all these guys work at so many different positions. Edwards has probably the best range on the team. That guy get all over the field real quick. Winfield does it all. I mean, there's not a position you put him in that he wouldn't thrive at. I mean, you've seen him play deep. Come
got
down.
Such a Rondé Barber vibe about him.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, he knows how to get to the ball, and he can tackle. That guy can tackle well, and it's really, really refreshing to see. Like, because when you think of a safety, you kind of think of that traditional, like, roaming the back end, just undercutting routes, picking things off. But Winfield can do that, and then what a linebacker can do, and get through the offensive line to the quarterback, to the running back, whatever he needs to do to get the ball on the ground, or the ball carrier on the ground. I think also with Logan Ryan thrown in there, you can have three guys who can move wherever you want. I think Ryan's going to be a bit more restricted to the nickel when he comes in. But you got Keanu Neal laying the thunder whenever he needs to. And then you got your mixture of Winfield and Edwards on the back end, up in the box, and the nickel, wherever you want. But I think if you're going to have a guy patrolling the back end more often than the other dude, you're going to want Edwards, in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, when you look at how the NFL's set up, it is set up to allow the quarterback to make those deep passes, and he is thrived on just finding balls and picking them off and taking them off. I mean, I wouldn't I mean, I don't know the stats of last year, but I'm pretty sure he's quite high up there in interception leaders for us as a team. I don't think he's the leader because he didn't play as much, but he's. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he was second. He just knows what it like. And the one thing I've always heard about him, he's a playmaker, but you can't take Antoine Winfield Jr. off. So what do? You put him at nickel, and now you got a double-edged sword. You got someone with the mindset of a linebacker, the attitude of a linebacker, the body of a DB, but is willing to go and play that position in Antoine Winfield. And now you got this guy who can roam on the field and snag balls. It's win-win, really, for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, Winfield, I think, is definitely more suited for that nickel role, just that more forward role, while you just have your guy patrol in the back end. So I think what they're kind of working out here is perfect for what they're trying to do and what they have in their arsenal.
And we all know what the linebackers are capable of doing because we have a solid linebacking base. What do you like to see? What do you want to see from the defensive line? Because the defensive line's changed a little bit. Not massively.
Yeah. So I think it all hinges around Vita Vea. I think he's our best defensive lineman by a wide margin. I think he's probably the second best defensive tackle in the NFL. That guy, like, you can put he's just a monster on the field. Like, you can put anyone next to him and they'll get through because of just what he can do to offensive linemen. I mean, we've seen William Golston become one of the premier pass rushing defensive linemen, interior defensive linemen in the NFL in the last couple of years. I think that is because of Vita Vea. Will Golston has a tremendous skill set, but I think it is pushed to its limits because of what Vea does at the nose. And then you get a guy like Akeem Hicks, who I think if he can stay healthy the entire year, will have more of an impact than Ndamukong Suh would at this point in their careers. I think the rookie, Logan Hall, will play a really crucial role. Am I here?
Yeah, you're still here.
Okay, perfect. Just my screen kind of went weird for a bit.
You got a bit jerky, but other than that, I heard everything you said.
Okay, perfect. I think Logan Hall will be spelling William Golston. I don't think he's going to come in for that. I think Nunez Roches will come in when Akeem Hicks is off the field, and when Will Golston's off the field, it'll be Logan Hall, just because he's a similar body type, similar role, kind of that 3-4 D end. He's
when kind of go into like a 4-man line rather than a 3. Yeah.
Well, he'll be. It'll be Barrett and then Logan Hall probably. Instead of like, they'll still have like a 5 tech is the word I'm looking for.
You can talk tech to me because I can football. So you can talk it. I see what you mean. I mean, we don't play anything more than a 5 anyway. So
yeah, exactly. And then he's an athletic freak. So if he's on the field next to Vita Vea at any given point, I think you're going to see flashes of what he can do, which is just really knife through the line and get towards the quarterback or the ball carrier, whoever's the target on that given play. I think expectations should be high for this defensive line. I think as long as they have Shaq Barrett and Vita Vea, they should always be high. I think you're going to see a breakout year from Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. You saw flashes.
I'd love to see that.
I thought he was better than Jason Pierre-Paul last year in his snaps. JPP, love him. You could see the decline last year, and I think they were just waiting to give Tryon-Shoyinka the full-time role. I think last year was kind of the send-off for JPP, and they wanted to bring Tryon-Shoyinka up to speed, and I think that he is now, and we'll see a big surge in production this year.
I'm hoping so. I mean, he does seem very limited in his pass rush moves, but at the same time, like you can see that he has the effort and the skill set that he can go further than what he's at right now. And it's really hard to judge a player in their first year because it's so easy to go, oh, well, when you get open with one move, why would you need you have a counter punch, but other than that, why else would you want to use anything more? When you get to the NFL, you need probably multiple moves to make the difference. For me, when I look at the defensive line, I see. Is it Logan? Is it Logan Hall? Logan Ryan? I always get confused between the two.
Logan Hall.
Logan Hall, the draft pick. I see him rotating with Hicks just because Hicks's injury past.
Yeah.
Whereas someone like Goulston has been a stalwart there. He's never really been injured. He's never really been out that long. So you can kind of trust him to stay and continue to do his job. And I think that will benefit both of those two players because neither one is going to get gassed. So one thing you always preach on defensive line is you want fresh guys because nobody wants a defensive lineman to attack a quarterback who's knackered or tired, so to speak, to put an English word in there, worn out. And you want them to come out there and you want them to come out with some absolute juice. You know, if you want to be useful, you got to be juiceful. So, you know, that rotation's really big, especially for a guy who's struggled with injury, and he's got, you know what, I don't have to be the Mac Daddy anymore. I can let this young kid just come in, do the job, and make a name for myself when I need to.
Yeah, I also do think we're talking about who we think they're going to rotate in for. They're going to rotate in for everybody. Like, we'll see Logan Hall on the edge. We'll see Vita Vea or Logan Hall at the nose. We'll see everything because, you know.
And then we'll see we'll see a pure four-man line and all sorts of. That's Buccaneers football right now. Is we're constantly going to change what you're going to see. So you're going to see you're going to have a 2-3 techs and a 2-5 techs, and then a 9 tech and a 9 tech, and then all of a sudden we're going to change it, and you're going to have a pure 0 tech right down the middle, and you're going to have a 4 tech. We're going to give you a free eye or a 4 eye. And then we're going to have some guys on the side. And we're just going to keep playing with it until you don't know what we're going to do, and then we're going to sack your ass.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's just all-out aggression. That's the name of Todd Bowles' defense, always. So
we're on live with Slick and the Dude and Garrett Ballard from Sports Talk Florida and Bucs Report. Hey, Garrett, I know it's getting a little late here. Why don't you do us a favor and tell everybody where they can find you, find the Creamsicle Chronicles, and what you got coming up next with Bucs Report and Sports Talk Florida.
Yeah, so all my stuff will be on my Twitter at NFL Ballard. I'll link everything. But if you want to just not go on Twitter, if you're not there, you can find all my work at either Bucs Report or Sports Talk Florida. Just search it in your Google bar. You'll find it. And then I'm doing all the Rays stuff for Sports Talk Florida right now, some Bucs articles for Bucs Report. And then those are just going to keep ramping up as things get going here. I'm going to have a article coming out probably tomorrow or the next day on Bucs Report about this last week of training camp, just kind of giving a recap. And then hopefully this next week I'm at training camp or the week after, just kind of waiting on the credentials, seeing what's going on there. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what I got going on.
All right. We appreciate you taking the time, Garrett. Ladies and gentlemen, Garrett Ballard, Sports Talk Florida, Bucs Report, and the University of Florida. Garrett, thank you so much, sir. We appreciate it. Look to have you back soon. Appreciate you taking the time tonight, buddy.
All right. Appreciate y'all. Have a good show. It was great to be
here, buddy.
Yeah, man. Much appreciated.
Hey, guess what?
Next guest, baby.
It's time to open up the video lines. It's a free-for-all, baby. Let's bring in Mr. Personality.
Oh, it does?
Hi, Johnny. You're live.
My gun's safe.
There.
Safe?
Oh, sandwich between two Americans.
Who do we got here on the Johnny from the NFL edition?
Indeed.
Bullets on, apparently. Yeah, I have a shotty in there and my fucking pistols on the door. I'm stuck, dude. I've been watching fucking Creep Show from the new Creep Show on AMC Plus.
Yeah. Right.
Oh man, I'm so fucking stuck on that show. It's fucking bringing back so many good memories.
Oh, dude, that was ugly, dude.
And the stories are really good.
We learned a little behind the scenes stuff about the Saints.
I didn't even know there were fucking 3 seasons out on it.
Hey,
I just stumbled across it.
Yeah. Nobody cares, Johnny. We're live right now.
Oh, dude, do you want to hear something neat? So you know your Captain America shield behind you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would have to do it in sections and make it like a puzzle.
Whoops, I'm on.
All right. Johnny doesn't know what he's doing. So we learned a little bit about the Saints, a little bit about the Cowboys. What do you think is going on, Slick? What do you think the Bucs' chance are week 1?
I mean, it's always going to be tough because it's the Saints. I think the fact that it's week 1 helps us a little bit because at the end of the day, they're still figuring shit out. They've got a bunch of new guys. They got a bunch of new receivers. They've got to get on the same page. So for us, it's probably if we get a good game plan in because we kind of know what they're going to do. They're not going to do anything too crazy week 1. Week 1 is usually when teams are a little bit more vanilla in what they tend to do. So I would say we just get after them.
What about you, Johnny, in the sexy shirt?
I don't know what the question was. I was in a phone call.
The question was, we heard a little bit about the Saints from Blake Ruffino and a little bit about the Cowboys from BJ Nix. What do you think the Bucs' chance are against those teams this year?
Good.
And there's
it was Garrett that said it, the only person that said anything that really put any worry on me was Garrett when he was talking about the center position and how they're still doing a camp battle. If they're gonna go away from that position, if they're gonna go to another person in that position, like with if they go to Treader or something like that, right? If these guys don't actually step up, they're wasting a lot of reps right now. Because whoever they bring in is going to have those reps, man, in practice. That kind of bothered me.
They could be JC Tretter. They could be JC Tretter reps. So yeah, you got a fair point, Johnny. I mean, if they're not sure, they need to be sure soon.
Yeah, they better make up their minds soon because I wasn't worried about Hainsey or any of that until tonight when he said that stuff about there's still possibly a camp battle there and he's hiking the ball over Brady's head and I'm like, oh,
that happens in game by experience then, so I'm not too worried about that.
I know that, but that's you got Brady there. You don't want to make him look like an idiot, and it happened with Ryan Jensen too. I've seen it, but it's still if they're not sure who they're putting in there at center, then they damn well better make up their mind. That does bother me.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's if that's the biggest takeaway from Bucs camp right now is that Robert Hainsey isn't 100% trusted, and they're looking at other guys in a sense of in-house. Because you're looking at other guys around the league. You're looking at veterans. You're looking at guys who played the position before, guys who've got experience. Looking at another guy who's got either less or barely more experience than yourself. That's kind of worrying because it's like, oh, right. So we're at this point now. It's kind of scraping the barrel a little bit.
And this is really non-contact. It's contact, but it's non-contact. They're not bull rushing. You don't have Vita Vea coming full force in your face right now. You don't have whoever they're going to be using on the other side there pulling the
no, I get you
stuff, So if he's got there's any worries there right now, they need to squash that shit quick. Because we got preseason's coming. That's going to eliminate half the reps for it.
I think if preseason we look as bad as everyone thinks we do or we feel we do, I think a snap decision will be made. Maybe the proofs in the preseason instead of proofs in the pudding. Proofs in the preseason. Right. Maybe that's the deal.
Sorry, how long were you guys waiting for me? I didn't realize I was.
You were in some weird. It's like you were in a trance. It was like people were talking. You were in a different world.
I had the show muted, and I was talking to my nephew on phone. So
we could hear a conversation. We just did not know that you were away with the fairies. You had more clue where the keys to the Batmobile was than what was going on in this show.
Well, yeah, because my nephew has the keys to the Batmobile.
Because your nephew's Batman.
No. He's the Joker, actually.
I thought that was you. So it's these shirts, man.
It's got to be. It's
all about the shirts, baby. It's all about the shirts. How are you, Johnny? How's life? How's things?
They're okay.
Do you feel good that I stole Michael Gallup from you?
Michael Gallup? What do you mean?
From fantasy.
I don't care about Michael Gallup. I had him
you were
last week.
talking about it last week. You could
Yeah,
talk about
I was
it.
pushing him last week though, but that's
I fell for it.
no Michael Gallup. I had him on my fantasy league last year, and he didn't produce a whole lot in fantasy wise. He did good for them. As soon as I got Tony Pollard last year, he stopped producing. So I no more Cowboys.
No more Cowboys. Just don't do it. Unless it's Micah Parsons, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it.
I loaded up on defense this year. I got okay wide receivers. I think I'll do good. What was your grade? Did you ever see your grade?
It was terrible. That's fine.
Yeah, it is fine because the grades never work out right. If you're going by that,
I've been told I've been dog shit and then turned it into a winning season and won a Super Bowl. So I take it.
I don't like draft trades, the fantasy trades. I don't like playing in those leagues.
I've never done one. I've never done one in my life.
Me either.
I've been offered and I've been like, nah.
So you'll do okay in this league then, because this is all about waivers, and you're not going to.
I've done my waivers. My waivers are done already. I'm like, I basically looked at every position that you may need a backup for, and went, I'll get a backup for every single position.
There you go.
Instead of an infinity wide receivers.
Alex killed us though with the wide receivers, man.
Oh no, I was terrible. I got 7 wide receivers in that.
Yeah, Alex went. He had a great draft. I mean, he's going to be hard to beat in this fantasy league this year.
You never know what happens in training camp because we got weeks to go.
That's true. I played with Alex last year, and I know the boy. He knows what he's doing.
Okay.
That's why I try to keep it away from the trades, because if he's let loose with a trade, man, forget about it.
That's all good. So you got a bit of Hawaiian shirt love. Do you wear Hawaiian shirts often, or is it just a Bucs one?
Never, just this one, and this one I only pull out of the closet once in a while.
All right, okay. I think anytime me and you go on in, if I audition together, I think we should both wear them.
That's pushing it. That's pushing it,
dude. That's fine.
I think I'll wear my Ronde in honor of your next NFL edition. How's that?
I like that. I don't like the old jerseys because they got so many holes in them.
Well, the old jerseys. You say when you're talking to somebody who's old, man. When you say old jerseys, I'm talking about cotton fucking jerseys that will weigh you down.
Did Rondé Barber wear a cotton jersey?
No, I can't do that, man. I got the light jersey. Those old jerseys. The first jersey I ever got was Leroy
Did you watch
Selman.
my show? Johnny, did you watch my show?
I can't hear you.
Did you watch my show?
Yeah.
No, the one that I did, the UK
Brit
one.
show, right?
No, the one before that.
Before
the one that was all about UK.
That's what I said, the Brit show.
Oh, the Brit show. So I thought you said the Rick show.
No.
Okay.
Show.
So who was your first jersey, Johnny?
Leroy Selman.
Ah, dude, that's
it was the original
cool.
Orange half sleeve.
Do you still have it?
Stripes here? No, that thing fell apart years ago, man. I wore it all the time.
Man,
that thing was so heavy and so hot in Florida. It was pathetic. Solid cotton, so if you got it wet, it just dragged you down. Like, weighed 200 pounds.
That's cool, though. A Dewey Salmon would be pretty cool, too, though.
Yeah.
That would be pretty badass.
Salmon was the man. Dewey was good, too. I like Dewey. Dewey was scary, though. If you ever met Dewey, he's kind of like meeting Debo, you know what I mean? Or James Harrison. It would be like kind of meeting James Harrison. He always had that mean look on his face.
Some people do, though. That's just their vibe, you know. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it was just concentration with him, man. He was always in deep concentration about things. He was a deep thinker.
Yeah.
He's a farm boy, you know. Those all the Selmans are all farm boys, you know.
Hmm.
So they had that
Oklahoma boy.
Serious. It's all serious. Everything's serious.
We got a guy in my team who's a huge Oklahoma fan, and he just talks Oklahoma. And I said, best player to ever play for Oklahoma. And he mentioned some quarterback. I went, dude, really? He was like, what? And I went, look up Leroy Selman. And he went, I've heard about him. I went, if you've heard about him, you don't know football.
You don't know Oklahoma?
He went,
They got
"What do you
billboards
mean?"
about the
I said,
Selmans there,
"Dude,
man.
I said, even Gerald McCoy is Oklahoma royalty compared to the guys you're talking about." And he was like, because he's talking about skill players, and I'm like, nah, Oklahoma football's about punch you in the mouth. Look at their vibe. Leroy Salmon is the greatest Sooner of all time. And he went, I don't know if I can agree with that. And I'm like, you don't need to agree with me.
I don't
It's
agree
fact.
with that. Lucius Selman was the greatest
dude,
Sooner of all time, and they'll tell you that there, man. Lucius, the older brother.
Oh, the older brother.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm probably getting mixed up with a bit of NFL there, though.
But all three Selmans are worshipped in Oklahoma, man.
Mm-hmm.
They got billboards for them out there still to this day.
That's freaking awesome there. Like, to have that vibe. So did you like my name? Leap it like a salmon.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
That was pretty good, wasn't it? I was pretty impressed with myself. My normal one is Kamara's a bitch. That's my usual vibe. Kamara's a bitch. It's like a double take. I get to insult Alvin Kamara and Karma's a bitch. I just thought it was just like, oh, I get to piss off Saint fans and have a good time. Christopher Cole would like to get on, but I don't speak a lot or wow. Speech impediment?
No, Christopher Cole's got some issues, man.
Oh, right. I didn't mean that to be insensitive.
He's a paraplegic.
Okay. Well, well, that's understandable. But we'll make accommodations for him if he wants to say his story. Maybe not live.
When he says he doesn't speak well, he doesn't speak very well, man.
No, I'm not like discarding that. I'm more of just thinking like just give him a chance to like if he wants to say something, he can say something, but say it in his way. You know, like we do it off camera and we make it more comfortable for him. But he wants to have a little rant, let him rant. Just 1 week and we'll have our first game to dissect. Absolutely, Chris. Absolutely.
That'll feel good actually dissecting actual football. I'm going to tear down the Raiders and the Jaguars game.
Can't do it.
Thursday.
I can't look at Buccaneers games as a coach because I get too pissed off. And I understand it, and it's harder because I know they get paid money. I can't get mad at my players. They pay my club to play, so I can't get angry. I have to go, yeah, dude, I get it. Shit.
It's easy to calm down. I mean, I get angry. Everybody gets angry watching football, but I've learned to calm myself down because I remember these are the elite, the creme de la creme. Okay, I can't do what they're doing. I've tried, So
I'm not even like that. I'm like, it's sport. Someone's gonna lose. Like it's nothing. I try when I lose. If the Bucs lose, I tend to be probably about moody for about close to 10 minutes, and then I'm just like, yep, it is what it is. Nothing I can do about it. Some losses are harder. Like the Rams loss was a real gut punch. That was a real gut punch.
The Rams and the Saints, those two get to me every time, dude. I just
yeah.
We've had such a bad record with the Rams.
When there was the LA game. With the LA game, there was kind of there was hope.
Yeah, that's
there, and you're kind of like, oh, okay.
Here it is.
Terrible palsy, man. I'm really sorry. That's freaking horrible. If you ever need anything, a chat. I'm probably not the best person to chat to. But if you want to talk and have a beer, I'll talk to you and have a beer, Chris. We can go drink some beer. I mean, if you don't drink Bud Light.
Wow.
It's horrible. It's horrible the afflictions that happen to our people, though, isn't it?
It is.
It's just, oh, man.
It always happens to the best people, too, because Christopher's the salt of the earth, man. He is one of the best.
I don't know him, but he's like, I got a guy who's got, the way I look at it is, I've got a guy who's got cerebral palsy, and he's commenting on my freaking show. That's badass. Like, you're a dude, man. Chris, like, you're a man. Like, you're better than I am. Like, I don't know if I could do it. I'd probably just sit there and borrow my own pity, to be honest. Like, the fact that you're here and you're having a conversation with us, that's freaking cool. You should be commended. And then we got Johnny. If I can just turn left, I can see his passwords.
There you go. Have at it.
How are you, man? You good?
All right, man. I'm about to cut out actually because I gotta get back a hold of my nephew here in a minute.
Nah, no worries, man. If you got to cut out, just cut out, and I'll finish up as accordingly. So it's not a problem.
All right, bud. I'll
So,
see you in the back room there in a minute.
Yeah, we'll have a quick shifty. I think I'm going to finish up here anyway. If anyone's got anything else they want to say, put it on, and we can have a quick chat about it. If not, then I will close up shop right about now. Okay, guys. Thank you for tuning in with Training Camp Live with Slick and the Dude, Christopher Cole. You're a dude. You're not the dude, but you are a dude. Go and have yourself a time. I hope you contribute to as many shows as you can. We got Ben. I always wonder with Ben because I look at his name. Is it Ben? Is he got like that the French side of it? It's Ben Cornet, or is it Ben Cornet? I want to know that. Ben's going to reply very quickly. Anyway, guys, much appreciated for coming up today. I'm drinking, as you all should, but drink responsibly. I am drinking Rheinbacher. Other drinks are available. And go to your retailer right now and enjoy some liquid refreshment, whether it be alcoholic or non-alcoholic. I'm Slick. I'm a coach. I'm a bit of an idiot sometimes, but we have a good time. We talk football. Anyone who wants to come on the show and chat a bit of football with me, I'm more appreciative of it. I do hope to bring my show that I did a couple of hours ago, the UK Buccaneers Showcase. I hope to bring it back next week, but I have got a lot on because my team has a youth flag football camp that I am head coach of. But we will see. Hopefully it will happen. If it doesn't happen, we'll go a couple of weeks after. I want to thank you all for participating. And Christopher Cole, just to add to this, he doesn't drink it anymore because I overdid it before. Wow, you are a freaking dude. Christopher Cole, the man. Chris, you're a man. Everyone else is a dude. I love you. I respect you. I will see you soon. Good night.